So um, let's get on with Material UI. Okay, so we've already installed everything, and we have in the last video we talked about having your project laid out, so you have your header and your footer, and then your a place for your layouts, and then obviously inside your layout you have injected your footer and your main, your footer and your header, sorry, and then your pages will also be injected in there. Everything will just come in, will just be injected as a child inside the layout. Okay, so we're not going to build the pages yet. We got to start building from the outside in. So we're going to build what the stuff that is going to go into the layout. So the layout is basically the big parent of everything. Okay, this is what it's going to capture. This is like the main house. Okay, so this is where you want to, inside the house, right? You have different rooms. You have, your bathroom and your living room. Now you can have your living room and your kitchen and and your bathroom all painted in different ways, in different colors, and have different designs per room. Okay, you can do that. However, your main house has to have stuff that will make your entire house work as a whole. So your main house, it will be the one that will have properties such as electricity, plumbing. You don't have your plumbing set up only for your one particular room, right? You don't have like the living room plumbing that you can just, I mean, sure, you can probably shut off water from going into your living room somehow, but I'm just saying, when you set up the electricity for your house, you set up the electricity for the entire house, and then per room, obviously, you can control it. But so that's basically how it is. It's kind of like working a lot like the way object-oriented programming works, where you have encapsulation, inheritance, and polymorphism. And if you're not familiar with those terms, basically what they mean is that you have ways to inherit from a bigger parent, being the layout in this case, and then inherit those properties into their smaller components, right? Their children, which is the header and all that stuff. But then all of those children will have ability to polymorph and have their own properties as well, and get also properties from different components as well. So it all becomes a big mumbo jumbo. So what we're going to do here is we're going to set up the stuff that we're going to need for the layout to provide the properties that we need for the rest of the guys that are inside it, for all the children. And one of them is going to be your Material UI. So a few things that you're going to do for the Material UI that you need to import, okay, is to start off, we already have React. Okay, so everything has to be, you have to have React imported already. Okay, and we're gonna leave these on the bottom. And you already have, actually, you know what, let's just move these up again, just because I like to have my pages up on the top. All right, and so the next thing you're going to import here is going to be your MUI theme provider. So import, and then you're going to use these squirrely brackets for this, your MUI theme provider. You're going to need that from MaterialUI core. You're going to put that in there, and then /styles. There we go. So you're going to import your MUI theme, your Material UI theme provider from Material UI core styles. Notice it's kind of blurred out or faded out. It's because we're not using it yet down here, but that's fine. Okay, the next thing you're going to import is going to be your baseline, and you'll see why you're going to need this. So this is basically so that you can create your own different styles for the properties that Material UI is going to set up for you. So that way you don't have to stick to just the styles that they have. So you can just, for example, have a button look a little different than the way that Material UI has it, and and you can modify, modify the property a little better or more, a little more than, than what they have out of the box. So basically that's the whole idea, right? You don't want to just do exactly what they have. You want to have your own things. So I'm going to use the same thing, Material UI core, but this one is going to come from CSS baseline. Okay, it's going to come from there. All right. The next thing we're going to import is going to be a theme file that we don't have yet, and we will eventually cover. We will eventually build it, hopefully in this video as well. So this one is going to come straight from the root of my file, and that's not going to be there yet. So I want to make sure that I do that first and just kind of comment it out for now. All right, so now that we have that, these are basically the two files that you're going to need. This Material UI theme provider and the CSS baseline. And then the theme is basically going to be a file that you're going to have all your theme configurations or modifications for your personal theme on how you want it to look. Okay? All right. Now for this to work, you have to wrap your entire layout into a MUI theme provider. So what we're going to do is we're going to use the same div right here, and we're going to use that as the wrapper. So now we're going to use MUI theme provider, which is kind of already given to us right there on the top with IntelliSense. And then we're going to use theme, right? We're going to, in the theme property, we're going to specify to use theme. Okay, this is a property. This is an attribute for a property, not an attribute. This is a property for the MUI theme provider, where that you can define in this property what kind of theme or the name of the theme that you want to, or where it lives actually, right? And you're basically saying here, there's in my theme, I want this right here. This could be anything. I mean, this could be Lewis, and then name it Lewis. It's just a name. It doesn't really matter what you call it. But I like to just kind of call it like that, theme. Okay. So basically, I'm telling here is, hey, I'm gonna use the MUI theme provider, and the theme that I'm going to use is called theme. Then it's gonna come up here and it's gonna look for where you imported it, and it's gonna be like, oh, okay, I see. You want to use this theme right here, which is in this address. We don't have it. Don't worry about it. Don't save this yet so you don't break your stuff, just for right now, and then we'll get there. Okay, but it's just one more thing we have to do, and then we'll take care of that part. So now that you have that, that's great. And the next thing you're gonna do, which is immediately under it, is going to be injecting your CSS baseline, and that could be a self-closing tag. And that is fine. That is basically all you're going to need. Don't save it quite yet. Don't save it quite yet. Okay. Come down here all the way to the blank area at the very root of your file. Actually, I'm wondering if that needs to be there in the very root. I don't think it does. I think that's part of the source. Is it? Yeah, actually it is. It needs to be in the source. So come to the source right here and new file, and then now make your theme.js. Yeah, it makes sense if I put it right there. All right, cool. Hit enter, create it. There you go, it's created. All right, so now that you have your theme.js file, in here is where you're gonna actually start creating your actual theme, and what you're going to, what colors you're going to use, and what kind of primary setups and things like that. So we're gonna go over some of the stuff here before we save this. Okay, so because if you save this with theme and then there's nothing in there, then it might still break. So before we save the layout, let's build the theme first. Okay, so first thing we're gonna do is you're gonna do a couple of imports in here. In here you don't actually need to import React, but because you're not gonna really be rendering anything with this file. This file is kind of like a support file. You could leave it as a main root file here, theme, and as a theme, or you can have a folder called assets and then put it in there, or another folder, or maybe a folder called I don't know, so plugins, whatever, supporting, I don't know, whatever you want to call it. Anything that is kind of semantic to you that you want to keep files that you know that are not rendering files, but they're more like or component files, but they're files that help you build your stuff because they contain code for middleware and things like that. So import, we're going to add create MUI theme, create MaterialUI theme, okay? And that's going to come from MaterialUI core / styles. That's going to come from there. Okay, the next thing now we're going to import. So this basically is going to MaterialUI core styles and pulling up this function, this create MUI theme function. And if you hover over it, you're gonna see now that you have these options in there and arguments that will help you create your theme. Okay, and then we're gonna go over these options in the bottom down here in a minute. But since I know I'm gonna use some colors, okay, I'm gonna go ahead and import them now. So import, and I'm gonna import two colors here. I'm gonna import blue gray, and I'm also going to import purple. And these are going to come from MaterialUI core / colors. They're gonna come from here. Alright, let's pause that for a second before we save it, and let's come over here to materialui.com components, not components, close that, styles, no, customization maybe, yeah, customization, and I think is maybe color, yeah, okay, the color palette. So you can see here, for example, some of the imports here, like for example the purple one that I just did, right? Import purple from MaterialUI colors, purple. So this one is if you want to import purple only. So you just don't have any curly brackets, you just have the name of the tag that you want to, and then you want to be explicit on how to import it, so you call straight to that file that where purple lives. If you're gonna call more than one, if you're gonna, like I did here, like I'm calling blue, gray, and purple, then you can put it inside of these brackets right here and then just leave it as in colors. That way it will know that you're not being explicit to one particular folder that you're looking for, right? But you want to be a little bit, you know, wider, in a wider brand of, in a wider range of colors, which is a folder behind, and then look for colors blue, gray, and colors purple. Okay, that's basically what it is. If you hover over it, as you saw me already, you can see that you can see the palette already and what it looks like, and then you can go to purple and do the same thing, and you hover and you can see all the different colors of purple that you have in each palette. So this is a neat thing about Visual Studio Code, that it can do all of these things for you. Hopefully you have installed all the extensions that I told you about and that I am using, and then you'll be able to see all of this, because it makes things a lot easier. Otherwise, if you don't have it, you can always come here and then see them here. Customization, color. Here's where you get to pick what kind of palette you want to use. So if you don't like the purple one that I'm using, fine. You want to use pink, or you want to use red, or maybe you want to use indigo, any one of these, deep purple, whatever, then just make sure that instead of purple, you name deep purple, for example. So just for the sake of, we're going to do that, deep purple. And then watch as I go over here, look at that, it changed to deep purple. So it's that cool, cooler than the other side of the pillow. I'm back on purple. Okay, all right, cool. So that's how you basically import the colors that you're gonna need. Okay, and then how you're going to use these colors, I'll show you in a second here. So now we're actually, this is just importing stuff. This is not really creating anything. If you leave this the way it is, it's still not going to work, because you have not really created a theme yet. All you did was just import the tools that you need to create the theme. Now we're going to actually create the theme, and anything that you create, you have to store it somewhere. Okay, you can't just live in thin air. So I'm going to save it in a variable, in a constant variable called theme. Okay, and then this right here is going to use the create there you go, the create MUI theme, and I'm gonna open it right here so I can have the options that I want to put in there. Okay, so this is a great thing now because we are starting to use this thing. There we go. So there are 3 different properties, and before we actually start getting in here, okay, and creating all these properties, there's one more thing that you should never forget, and that is every time you want to use something anywhere, right? If I want to use this only in this file and I don't want it to escape, then I can just probably leave it like this, who knows. But if I want this to be used somewhere else, you have to export it. If you don't export it to the rest of your application, no one is going to know that it even existed. So I'm going to export default theme, and now this becomes available to other components to use it and call it. In this case, layout. Layout now can call this and it will be able to reach it because it exported out for it to be reached. I'm gonna go ahead and uncomment this because I know I'm getting closer to where I need to be. In fact, you know what? Save it. What the heck? Save it. Even if it breaks, I don't think it will, but even if it breaks, it doesn't matter. We're getting really close, and it's already in a running state, and yeah, I don't think it'll break. There's nothing that it should make it break. Okay, we're looking good. Okay, so let's inspect to see if there's anything coming in along yet. I don't think there will be much. Let's inspect this actual H1. Yeah, I don't think anything is coming in from MaterialUI yet, so it's not a big deal. I'm not using any components from MaterialUI, so I didn't expect it to. All right, so there's a few things here that we need to build, okay? There's 3 things mainly that I like to build in here. So one is going to be the palette, just like that, palette. And I'm going to create it like that, and then comma. These are basically JSON objects. The other one is going to be typography, just like that. And then a comma, don't forget the comma. And then the other one is going to be the overrides. Overrides. Like that. Alright, cool. So these are the 3 main ones that I want to do. So the palette is going to help me decide which colors I'm going to use out of this array of colors right here, because this object right here has a lot of colors for me to use. I may want to use them all eventually, but I want to decide which one is going to be my main one, my light, my dark one, things like that. Same thing for this. So for my palette, I know I'm going to have 2 primary ones. I mean, not 2 primary ones, but a primary and a secondary. So I'm gonna put primary, and then you guessed it, secondary. There you go. Now one more thing I want to add down here is called type. Now type, before we get into the primary and secondary, MaterialUI has 2 types of themes, light or dark. If you do dark, it would automatically make a lot of your component styles contrast with a dark background and a light text on top of it. And that is kind of what I'm using. So I'm just going to inject that in as a string because that's the value of it. Don't forget the comma up here. Okay. But if you want it to be with a light background and a dark letters, then you can just put light here, or actually even ignore it. I think the default is light, so you can just ignore it. But I like to have it dark, so I just implicitly, explicitly mention I want it to be dark. If you omit it, I think it just goes defaulted to light. All right, so in my primary, there's going to be 3 main states of my primary color. And one is going to be light. I'm going to leave it empty for now. Come on. Where's my comma? There we go. And then the other one is going to be main. I'm going to leave it empty. And then the other one is going to be dark. All right. This is not going to run. This is going to break. So don't hit enter. I'm just leaving him empty like there, right there, because I'm going to add more stuff later. So I wanted you to see how I'm building it, you know. All right. So now what I'm going to do here is I'm going to set up which color I want it to be my main color, and which one is going to be a lighter version of it, and which one is going to be a darker version of it. Now there are ways that you can do this. You can go straight for the color, straight for the jugular, and I don't know, I kind of need a color here, guys. Help me out. Let's just pick one from here. F3. Okay, so I can go right here like that and pick that and put it in here like this. I can do that, and then I can just even go here and pick this one and put it inside here as a string, and so on and so forth. I can just fill it all out like this. Okay, that is perfectly fine. That is fine, definitely fine. However, there are other ways that you can do this. Okay, and I'm going to delete this. You can use this attributes, these properties here in this array, in this object, that will automatically give you that particular hex tag or hex key that is there. For this particular project, I'm using, for my main one, I'm using the 500 one, which is, I think, is the very default one at the top. So the 500 one. So this is how you're going to do it. For my main color, I'm going to use purple, and then as an array, I'm going to use 500. Okay, and then here I'm going to use purple 300 as the light one, which is a slightly lighter, and then for the darker ones I'm gonna go with the 700, which is slightly darker. And that right there sets up my purple to be in that range. So if I come here and I look at it, come on, it's not giving me that. All right, cool, then I can just see it here. So if I come over here to my purple, I'm using this one as my main one, and then I'm going to the lighter one, I'm going to the 300, and to the darker one I'm going to the 700 right here. So MaterialUI has ways that it shows you lighter and darker versions of a color depending on hover states and things like that, so it's always good to define them that way. And then for my secondary, I'm going to use my blue gray. So I'm going to basically do the exact same thing. I use 500, 300, and 700. But I'm gonna use a blue gray. So blue gray, and then I'm gonna use 500 on that one, and I'm just gonna copy this, copy and paste, and then 3, and then down here dark. There you go. Just to kind of speed this up because we're running out of time. 700. All right, cool. So now we got the palettes for the primary and the secondary. And that's great. Everything is starting to work perfect. So the next thing that you're going to have is going to be your typography. We're going to talk a little bit later about this, and your overrides as well. We're going to talk in a different video about these themes right here. We're going to close this one up right now. This at least gives you something already running, so I'm going to save it. Again, you're not going to probably see anything because there's nothing to style. Oh, well, look at that. You got something. Because we defined the dark, it automatically started to build your body into, so you can see how the theme provider is already starting to come in. So this is a good sign. Good. I forgot that you would see this just by applying this. I forgot that this was already ready for you to see. So that's a good thing. All right, we're on our way. So this was the first part of the MaterialUI. We are, there's a lot to cover MaterialUI. Eventually, I want to make a video about MaterialUI only. So, but for right now, we're gonna cover a couple more steps in the next video, and then we're gonna move on. All right, see you in the next one.